Hi there booktube, my name is Christina and today I'm here with a vlogish kind of video. I decided that it's time to move on with my started and never continued series of me basically selecting what ebooks to keep and what ebooks to get rid of, because let's face it, I have too many of those and currently I don't even remember what the half of them is about. And yes, I'm in bed right now because I have the tiniest bit of a fever, nothing to worry about, just a little bit of cold. So since I'm in bed, I decided that at this point I can not only read mangas and watch TV, like all of the romantic and just movies that make me cry, like movies, but I can also do something useful and to go on with this series. So this first part would be rather short, I guess, because I want to move to letter B of the books that are currently on my Kindle or Kindle. And so let's go with this list. The very first one that you see here is Uma del Mondo di Sotto by Marta Baroni, my voice, and I actually already read it, so that's one less. It was a graphic novel, it's in Italian. I wasn't a huge fan actually. The style, like the style of the drawings wasn't exactly mine, and the story, I wasn't a huge fan, pretty much. Then the next one that I have here is La Rosa e il Deserto by Lorenza Bartolini. And this is a book written by a girl that I actually know. It's a fantasy, a duology or a trilogy, and I've owned this book for the longest time, so I want to give it a try. Then I have Mechanica by Betsy Cornwell, Coming Back by Betty Nakaichi, which before dying that I will not try to read because it's the second or the third in a series that I now own the first book physically. So first I will of course have to read the first one, so that one will stay here. Then I have The Smell of Other People's Houses by Bonnie Sue Hitchcock. Then the Empress Edge Collection, book 1, 2 and 3, and I have no idea of what we're talking about here. And then Goblin Fruit, the first book by S.E. Burr. Again, no idea of the content. And the reason why I have some of these books is, as you probably already know, I am subscribed to BookBab. It's called like that, and so I receive an email every now and then, sometimes even every day, with the ebooks that are discounted or that are for free that day. So that's the reason why I have this huge amount of books as an ebook. So now I have 6 books to try out the first chapter and to see if I will keep them or delete them, because let's face it, I don't need such a huge TBR. So, I will see you later. Well, that took me literally like 5 minutes, so that wasn't a very long first chapter, so I tried and looked a little bit further in the story, like at chapter 2 and 3, and from what I get, it's a classical fantasy in which we have two kingdoms that fight, the Kingdom of the North and the Kingdom of the South, and they fought for a long time until the kings decide to kind of create this peace that's based on the fact that the daughters and the sons of the kingdoms, they sometimes marry, things like that, just in order to keep peace. And we're discovering our first protagonist, or the protagonist of the story. The story is told in first person, and I'm not a huge fan of a first-person narrator, I have to admit. I really prefer when the story is like broader and you can see different points of view when it's like that. If it's a first person, then I prefer to have multiple points of view. But anyhow, we're following this princess, and she's the smallest, I believe, like the youngest of 4 children. And she's the one who's picked to become the spouse, but of course she is the feisty one, the fighter. She doesn't want to be a princess. She doesn't want to dance and sing and stuff like that. She wants to go on horses, just riding around and practicing archery and stuff like that. So she's the rebel type, the usual that we're used to see in all of the fantasy stories. So, I don't know. After the first chapter, I'm not very convinced, I'm not too very intrigued, but I have nothing against the story, so we will see. So here I am with the next book, and it's Mechanica by Betsy Cornwell. And this one, after I read the first chapter, I can tell you that it's a retelling of Cinderella, and I believe that it's kind of like steampunk mixed with magic, maybe, because the story starts with this girl who had like the childhood of Cinderella. So her father just recently died, she's stuck with her stepmother and her daughters. They're mean to her, she has to do all of the I don't know how to call them, the chores at home, but like harder and worse, of course. She's not loved, she's treated like a stranger in her own house. And suddenly she receives a note from her dead mother, who wrote her a letter, and in that letter her mother kind of guides her to her secret laboratory that is full of mechanical, that's part in which steampunk plays a role, of like mechanical animals and tools and things like that. So our main protagonist is Cinderella, pretty much, with a different name. And so this is a retelling, but it's very well written. I'm enjoying the style, so I believe that I will keep this one for a future. I'm not in a mood for a retelling right now, but maybe in the future, who knows. So the next one that I have here is Betty Nakaichi, Coming Back by Betty Nakaichi. And I read the first chapter. I was rather confused, so I searched a little bit because I remembered zero about this book. But apparently we're following a woman in her 30s who is visiting the tomb of her dead boyfriend, kinda, I believe that he was her boyfriend. And while she's talking to him, she's starting sensing something, and it's very strange because it's written like if the protagonist is talking to you. So it's kinda second person, except that you are an Asian boy, which is not the problem. The problem is that you are dead and she's speaking to you, and apparently you start answering. So that's, I don't feel very, I don't know, I don't get it too much. So I searched the content a little bit, and apparently her boyfriend is kinda stuck. He never passed away, he always was around her, and she's marrying someone else, but now he's back. And so they need, my phone keeps beeping, and so they need to kind of solve a mystery of why he died, what happened exactly. And I don't know, I don't think that I'm in for this kind of story. It's maybe a mystery, maybe a thriller, maybe I don't know what, but it's in Italian. I don't know if it's a translation or if it was written originally in Italian, but I don't enjoy the style of writing very much, so it's a no for me. So the next one was The Smell of Other People's Houses. And this one, I remember getting it as an ebook because of the title and the cover that seemed so cozy, so unique. So I don't know, like, this is something to which I always pay attention when I firstly come into someone's home. That smell that you feel, that you then stop feeling after kind of 2 minutes. I really pay attention to it. It tells you something about the house, it tells you something about the owners. It's kind of fascinating. I know that it's strange to speak about that, but it is for me. And so I was expecting something completely different. This book is set in 1970s in Alaska, and from what I got, we will be following different characters. For now, I only met the first one, who is Ruth, I believe. And the very beginning in the prologue made me so uncomfortable with a deer being like skinned, and just I don't like it. And then I went on a little bit, and I don't feel like this is a book for me. It is just fiction, kinda historical, it's 70s, come on. But then, I don't know, I've read so many good reviews about it, but I just don't feel like I'm clicking with this book, so I believe that it will go. So sorry. And here we are with the last but one, I believe, book for today, and it's The Empress Age by Lindsay Roker. Roker, is it correct? Yes, apparently it's Roker. And here, as you may see, I have the first, the second and the third book, and they're not even the whole series, I believe. So from what I get, this is kinda a fantasy. I had to go and search it on Goodreads, because apparently it's not just like fantasy, simply fantasy. It has a bit of steampunk in it too, but I've not reached that part for sure. And we're following our main protagonist, who is Amaranth, and she is kinda a police woman. She's part of the force that kinda controls and regulates the city, and she is very strict, very kinda dedicated to her job. She likes being in the forces. She likes kinda the order and fighting for the right cause, and she's very righteous. She just respects the law and the hierarchy and so on and so on. And apparently one day she's with her like partner, and they end up helping in a situation where people are trying to rob a shop, and suddenly she hears a voice like thanking her for her service, and it ends up being the Emperor. So she meets the Emperor for like 2 minutes, he thanks her for her service, and then he disappears. So I had to go and search a little bit more about this book, and apparently she will be sent away because of this, for whatever reason. She will be sent away in order to go and find the worst assassin of the kingdom. And yeah, I know nothing else about this book. I don't know how much I'm interested in it. It's written in a very pleasant and easy way, but I don't know if I will like sincerely be interested in picking it up anytime soon. So let's see the last book. And with this last one, I'm completely perplexed, because apparently it is a fairy tale retelling. I don't think that it's a retelling, but kind of fairy tale-ish, but it's more like in a realistic way. I don't know how to put it, because we're following our main protagonist, whose mother and brother are sick, but they are kind of catatonic, but they are because of a drug, and the drug is the Goblin Fruit. And so when you try it, you become an addict, and you kind of become catatonic, and you just act like kind of zombie. And when someone touches you, he or she become catatonic too, so it propagates, and then you wish the drug, you desire the drug, and it's just very strange and not something that I'm in for. It's not something that's piquing my interest. So let's look at the list here of the books. So let's start from the bottom this time, and we have Goblin Fruit, and it's a no. The Emperor's Edge, kinda a no. The Smell of Other People's Houses, a no. Coming Back, no. Mechanica is okay, and I think that I will keep La Rosa del Deserto. So for sure I will get rid of 1, 2, 3 books, maybe 4. So again, it's not that much, but it's a little bit less books to have on my TBR than yesterday, so it's already something. And for today I will stop because I'm having a bit of a headache, and this is it. I hope that you enjoyed this different kind of video. I hope that it's not too boring for you to watch, and yeah, I will see you very very soon with my next one. So expect me to get to my iBook kind of section of the books too. So see you soon. Bye. Ciao.